Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Series, where we chat about everything leadership, coaching and marketing in aim of adding value to people's lives, happening every Wednesday and Thursday on ebizradio.com. You can catch the Lunchtime Series on your major podcast channels, and to help us grow the channel, please follow, like and share with everybody, guys, because on today's segment we have an amazing businesswoman who I have the fortunate privilege of working with. Certified holistic nutritionist. She's got quite a title. Nutrition and functional medicine health coach. She's the owner of Unlimited You Coaching. She's the co-founder of Vitamin G Nutraceuticals. That's vitamin. You're gonna have to tell me what it is, Steph. And director of Grow Club. But welcome to this. Welcome to the show, Stephanie Grosvenor. She's been here before, guys, and she's going to chat to us a little bit about some really interesting health. Well, she's going to tell us what she's going to chat about. How you doing, Steph?
Very well, thanks, Kev. How are you?
Good. First, tell me, well, how do you say that word? It's vitamin
G. Vitamin G or vitamin G, so it's a bit of a play on words. Nutraceuticals. Yes. We know there is no such thing as nothing that's been discovered, no vitamin that's been discovered that is vitamin G. So it is a bit of a play on words, and it encompasses a few different aspects that we feel you really need to heal. Number one being gratitude. So in order to heal your body, to live well, to create a life well lived, gratitude is definitely in there. And then of course it represents my last name as well, which is always fun. Daily dose of vitamin G is all you need.
It's really, really clever. I love that. So, I mean, Steph, don't you want to just, before we start off, I know you and I have been busy with a health program, and don't you want to just tell people a bit about the health program? Guys, you can actually sign up to this health program. It's a full-on program that you can go through at your own pace, and you have a hell of a support from coaching to leadership to your own diet to your tell us more about it so people know more about it.
Yeah, thanks, Kev. So the program you're talking about is my signature program. It's a 1-year wellness mentorship called Health Gap. And Health Gap is really, it's a group accelerator program, but the aim is to fill the gap from where you are to where you want to be. Not just in your health, but in your relationships, in your business, in your finances. The goal is really to support you in creating a life that is well lived, a life that your 80-year-old self is going to thank you for. We want you to get to a point, we know with technology and the just advances in human medicine, we are extending our lifespans quite a bit. We're not dying at 50 or 40 like we were many, many years ago, but we've been able to extend our lifespan. Unfortunately, we are not extending our health span. We are actually decreasing that, meaning we are getting sicker a lot earlier. And statistics show that on average, the last 14 years of somebody's life is spent with chronic or debilitating illnesses and declining health. And it doesn't need to be that way. So the intention behind Health Gap is to really spend a year supporting you to create that life that is well lived, that extended health span. So when you are 80, you can look back and say, you know what, my mind is still intact. My sense of humor is strong. I'm mobile. I've created incredible relationships. And I'm so proud. I'm so happy with how I've chosen to live my life.
Fantastic. So if anybody wants to find out, guys, you can go and check it out. What's the quickest, easiest way to get hold of you, Steph, about Health Gap?
Yes. So, Kev, I'll actually send you a link where people can go directly and just book a call with me in my calendar, purely around Health Gap, and I can share some more information. As I said, it's a year-long program, but we have shifted it around or incorporated 3 different aspects, because some people prefer private coaching, some do better in groups, and some like to do self-paced sort of modules. So the program really encompasses all 3. And then we have a variety of different coaches in the program, yourself included, Kev, who really focuses on the leadership aspect, the mindset aspect. We do some health coaching, we do business coaching, we do it all within the program. And then we also open up the opportunity for you to do blood work and testing, like things like that as well. So we're getting very personalized to you and what it is that you need. What are your nutritional deficiencies? What are your high risks for disease, or which diseases? And we honing in basically under a microscope, like what is it that you need specifically, and how can we customize that lifestyle? It really is lifestyle design, and we are customizing it for you, not for your best friend. You know, that's going to be completely different. So it's very personalized. It's personalized medicine, if I could put it that way.
Fantastic. So, guys, we'll definitely have the link in the description box below if you want to have a chat with Steph. But Steph, you mentioned the word diseases, right? And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about something today, the dis-ease of something. Don't you want to sort of preface that for us and just tell us more about what this dis-ease that we are going to be talking about today?
For sure. Kev, so it was really important for me to bring this topic through to your audience. We are going to be talking about the dis-ease created in our life through this chronic state of stress that unfortunately most of us are finding ourselves in. Particularly as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, like we thrive on, or we find ourselves very frequently in a state of pressure, of stress, this chronic stress. It becomes normal for a lot of us. We actually are so used to living with high levels of stress that we don't realize how stressed we actually are on a daily basis. It becomes normal. And entrepreneurship, if you are doing it right, you should be living outside of your comfort zone on a regular basis, right? Like you should be getting uncomfortable quite frequently. And just in general, living outside, operating outside of our comfort zone, which is where we are growing, which is where we are learning, where we are developing, that is going to bring about stress, this uncomfortability, these pressures. And stress is a very normal part of life. It's a part of everyday life. We are never going to escape stress. But we need to know, like, have we set ourselves up in a way that our body can actually handle the stress load that we are dealing with? Because if not, that chronic stress, that constant heightened state of stress is going to manifest itself in dis-ease in the body. We cannot continue to function on 5 hours of very bad quality sleep, of convenience foods, of allowing our emotions to run the day. We end up getting snappy with our family. We get snappy with our colleagues. We don't make time for joy in our life. It becomes this constant to-do list, and we forget about how we should be living.
So, I mean, what's interesting for me is I think to your point that stress, I think when you hear the word stress, people instinctively go, oh, it's such a negative thing. But there is a difference between healthy stress and negative stress. And the negative stress I often refer to is overwhelm, right? Because when you are overwhelmed, it becomes debilitating. I don't want to do it. I'm functioning at optimal level for too long a period. And then suddenly one day I'm like, I can't do it. I don't want to do it. I'm not getting out of bed. And that is, that's really unhealthy stress. But, when you are put under a bit of pressure because you've got to get to that commitment that you agreed to, that you've got to deliver that presentation, you've got to get to that meeting. That kind of stress is forward pushing, and it's helpful, right? And I think just to like from your perspective, from from a health perspective as well, just to give people a sense of stress isn't all encompassingly, and it's not just a bad thing. It's really how you get your brain on board with the stress, for you to actually manage it and really know, like, how am I doing?
Kev, that is such a great point. I'm really glad that you mentioned that, and you are spot on. Stress is not a bad thing. Any function, any response that we have in the body, we have for a reason. If it didn't serve a good purpose, we wouldn't have it. We have a stress response because it is necessary. If you're driving in the car and somebody like swerves in front of you, you're going to have that stress response, that adrenaline, your reflexes are heightened, your focus is heightened. As you said, when there's a deadline coming up, a presentation you need to give, stress is a really good response in times like that. Yeah. But the problem is when after that situation, our nervous system should regulate itself quite soon afterwards again. But unfortunately, after the presentation, there's, it's the next thing and the next thing and the next meeting, and it's the financial worries, and it's racing home in traffic to get home and make dinner for the family. Then it's preparing for the next day. It's lying in bed thinking about all the things we did wrong or didn't get done this current day. And not thinking about all the things we did do right. So a lot of the stress that we put, the negative stress or the stress that contributes to this chronic state, is actually a perceived stress. And this plays into it as well. This is where your mindset and your thoughts become very important in managing your stress. Yeah. Because 60% of the stress that we are under is a self-inflicted perceived stress. It is not a, Can we unpack that? Because perceived stress really, if I like in my head from my language, perceived stress is the stress that's not actually happening to me now. It's that thing that I haven't gotten to yet that's happening in the future, or that thing that happened to me 2 days ago and I'm still thinking about. There's perceived ideas. And usually people are living in the fear of what potentially could go wrong. And that's why they have that perceived notion of stress, right? Is that what you mean by perceived stress? That's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean by perceived stress. It's something, we are replaying a situation from the past that is over, that we cannot change. And our mind is incredibly, incredibly powerful. It cannot tell what is real, what is our reality, and what is in our mind, what is our thought or belief. Yeah. And it might sound strange, but let me give you an example. If we are sitting here and we perceive there is somebody outside our door that is about to come in and attack us, our heart rate is going to increase, adrenaline is going to increase. We are going to start to maybe even hyperventilate or sweat. We're going to feel very fearful, scared, all this kind of thing. But there's nobody outside, but we are telling our brain that's what's happening. So we have a physical reaction to that. So it's very easy, if you think about it that way, to realize that our brain is just going to respond to whatever, or our body is just going to respond to whatever our brain is saying. So if we are thinking about a situation that happened, it could be 2 days ago, it could be 5 years ago, something that we are replaying from 5 years ago. Your brain doesn't realize it was 5 years ago, and it thinks that same situation is happening. So you are creating a state of stress where there isn't one. And the same in the future. You might think of a conversation you need to have with your boss, a conversation you need to have with your partner, and you are playing it out in your head, how you think, how you perceive it might happen. You are assuming what that person would say. And often we think of the worst case scenario and we try to figure out how we would act in the worst case scenario. But that hasn't happened, and we are putting ourselves through it without needing to put ourselves through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the things that you say is, how does stress impact your body and performance, and why should we prioritize stress management? Because from my journey, working with MIT around the neurosciences, like that's where I really started discovering how impactful the gut can be on everything, like literally being alive, and how what it is you're eating influences how you're inevitably feeling, and the bloating and the inflammation that's caused because of food and because of the gut. So stress in itself, food in itself could heighten stress responses. I imagine, right? Like there's so much that is intertwined around your stress and how you're actually looking after your healthy stress mechanism and how to be more proactive.
Yes.
But I mean, tell us more about that body, that impact on your body and performance of what stress really is doing.
100%. All right. So I will, a little bit later on, I'll talk about some tips and things you can do to really support your body to manage stress. But to answer your question now, let's just look very sort of high level, surface level, how stress impacts the body.
Yeah.
Now, when I talk about stress, it's common for people to associate stress with external factors like money or finances, jobs, relationship. This is what we associate stress with.
The future, so,
The future, the present, even the past, but it's all these external, these factors outside of us in our life that cause stress in our life. So when I'm talking about stress, when we look at stress from a health or a functional medicine perspective, it is anything that creates a stress response in the body. And this is categorized into 3 aspects. You have a physical stressor, which is things like food intolerances, parasites in your body or bacterias, trauma. If you bump your shin, that's a stress response in the body. If you're in a car accident, that's a physical stress on the body.
Yeah.
Then you have a chemical stressor, which is things like pesticides, the toxins in all our like beauty products and cleaning products, all this kind of stuff. That would be a chemical stressor, the air fresheners that we all have all over our homes and our offices.
Yeah.
Then you have a mental or emotional stressor. And this would be the finances, the relationships, all these things that play on our mental and our emotional state. So stress really is categorized in one of those 3 areas. And the first thing that I do with any client of mine, whether it's a private or group sessions, the first thing we do is identify what are the stresses in your life out of those 3 areas, and how can we start to remove and support the body? Because the thing is with stress, your body cannot heal when it is in a state of stress. It is impossible. If the body or the brain thinks that you're going to be eaten by a tiger in the next 20 minutes, like you don't need to fix your digestion or digest any food. You need to stop it, right? You don't need to heal the body. So you cannot heal in a state of stress. It is very important to get into a parasympathetic nervous state, a rest and digest state daily in order for your body to heal. Now, when we are on the opposite side of the spectrum, this sympathetic state, this fight, flight, or freeze, this stress mode, how it really impacts the body. Number 1, Kev, you said digestion. So all disease really begins in the gut, and we have a whole ecosystem of bacteria that live in us that actually provide us a lot of different health benefits. If we have a bad ecosystem or an imbalanced ecosystem, a sick ecosystem, our overall health is going to suffer. And stress is one of the number 1 factors that cause an imbalance in this ecosystem, which leads to bloating, inflammation, it leads to depression, because the bacteria in our system is actually what creates serotonin, the happy hormone. And when we are highly stressed, it kills off that serotonin producing bacteria. We get food sensitivities, gas, bloating, constipation. So digestion wise, your digestion is affected, and it's not so much, I know there's that common saying that you are what you eat, but that's not really that true. You are what you absorb. You could eat the cleanest diet in the world, but if you are highly stressed, you're not breaking down your food, absorbing the nutrients, you are going to be malnourished. You cannot absorb it, and you are going to suffer. Like your health is going to suffer. Or your weight is impacted dramatically. There's a lot of people who are struggling with their weight, and they think, I need to starve myself, I'm going to over-exercise, I'm going to go on these crazy cleanses or do like 24-hour fasts. And all these things are actually increasing your stress response in the body. Too much. It is releasing cortisol, it is releasing insulin. All of these things are fat storage hormones. So we may be starving ourselves to get into a fat burning mode, and all we're doing is actually holding on to every single little calorie. So you cannot lose weight if you want.
So, yeah, listening to you now, I'm just like, okay, so I'm really worried about my life right now, because maybe I'm really, really stressed, because everything you're saying is like, yo, that is applicable to me. Like, maybe I am stressed. I'm not sure, but it's, you know, from how you've explained it now, I certainly sound stressed.
Well, Kev, that's why I said in the beginning, like, most of us do not realize how stressed we are, because stress as a society, stress has been normalized, and we almost wear it as a badge of honor. Like, I can function on 4 hours of sleep and I'm so busy, I can't even think straight, but, you know, I'm killing it. I'm getting through life. Like, it is what it is. You're not killing it. You are pulling yourself through life in a way that, yes, you may externally seem or be successful, but at what cost internally? And we can have both. We can have a thriving internal life. We can have thriving relationships. We can have thriving, successful businesses, but it starts with looking after ourselves. It starts with making sure our health is on point. And, you know, Kev, the last area of the body that I really want to highlight quickly is the effect that stress has on our brain. And we have this part in our brain called the amygdala. I'm not going to get too sciencey, but basically the prefrontal cortex, this is the front of our brain that most of our thinking is done with. It is our relationship part of the brain, our empathetic part of the brain. This is connection. It's our connection. This is where we want to be thinking from. And in the center of our brain, we've got this little part called the amygdala. And at night when we are sleeping, the amygdala is your fear center. It gathers all your worries and your stresses from the day, and at night while you're sleeping, it releases these, which is a good thing. And this is sometimes why we have like some nightmares and things like that. It's your amygdala releasing. So the next day it has space to take on more of your stress and your worries and process it, filter it, get rid of it. The problem is when we are incredibly highly stressed, the amygdala doesn't have enough capacity to process everything that you are worrying about all the time. So what does it do? It creates more brain cells in that part of the brain. It physically gets bigger, and it's supposed to be a tiny part of your brain. Now, what happens when this is getting bigger, we start to operate, we start to think from the amygdala and not our prefrontal cortex. And this is a very scary thing, because your amygdala is your survival center. It's survival of the fittest. You are not making decisions logically. You are not making decisions out of or empathetic decisions. You are not worrying about connecting with people. This is where we become very snappy. This is also where we fall victim to cravings. Like, I've been so good with my diet all week and now I'm really stressed and now I'm going to eat that burger or that pizza. It's not because you don't have willpower. It's because you are thinking from your amygdala, which is a consequence-free part of your brain. Amygdala doesn't operate through consequence. It operates through survival. So we do not want to be operating from that part of our brain. And this is what happens when we are highly stressed. But Kev, for the sake of time, I don't know how we are looking. I would really love to share with the audience what we can start to do to
because you've developed it. You've totally developed an actual process for this, right? And as you're talking, I'm just kind of connecting all these dots and going, you know, there's a lot of sort of my capacity to handle a difficult day, or my capacity to have a long day, there could be underlying stress that I'm not noticing that's affecting that, right? So you've got a whole approach that you call the 3P approach on what you've developed on how to deal with stress and stress reduction, and really help yourself curb this far better, right? So tell us about this, because I want everyone to hear how amazing this is.
Yes, thanks, Kev. I absolutely love this program that I run with people, or just a process, not a program, a process that I take people through. And I'm going to preface this by saying how it really came about is when I started out as an entrepreneur. This was a few years ago before, I mean, now I'm running 3 different businesses. I do 4 different coaching programs. Like, my life has just gotten busier and busier and busier over the years. But I'm actually, even though the responsibility has increased, I'm able to manage it a lot better because I have developed this system. And when I just sort of started out with my business, in theory, I'm in medicine, so I know what stress does to the body, but I had never experienced physically how sick stress can make you when you pass that threshold. And that was the point that I got to. I was so stressed because I was building my sort of coaching business on top of my running the day job. I was doing live events I used to be a very shy person. So my stress level was just absolutely insane. And I got incredibly, incredibly sick for about 12 weeks. It actually set in motion the beginning to develop autoimmune disease as well, purely through this heightened stress response. And I'm so happy I experienced that, because I physically got to see, if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not prioritizing self-care, if you are allowing stress to run your life, this is the consequence. And we need to be aware of this, because if we can manage it, if we can start to reverse it, manage your stress better, you can get your life back, you can function optimally. And there's no way I would be able to do what I'm doing now if I didn't start to implement this a few years ago and learn how to better manage my stress. I probably wouldn't have any healthy relationships in my life either, to be honest. But when we look at this 3P approach, so starting off, number 1, the first P that we want to look at is prioritization. If you had to for everybody listening, if you had to take a very honest look at your day, I don't know about everybody else, but I used to run my entire life on a to-do list. And I still have a massive to-do list. I just handle it differently. But we tend to have this master to-do list, and we are adding things on faster than we can pull things off or cross things off. And this creates quite a bit of overwhelm. We tend to often feel like we're behind. We can never really finish because our to-do list is constantly growing. But I want to challenge everybody listening to take a look at your daily to-do list and ask yourself, out of everything, even if you're not looking at your list, look back at your day today or yesterday. And out of every single aspect, every single task, every single thing you did in your day, how many of them were energy fillers? And how many of them energy takers or energy drainers? And I can tell you now that is going to be a very unbalanced ratio.
I think that includes some people, right? You've got to.
That includes people. 1,000%. That includes people.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And this is the first step. Like, it's logic. It's logic. If you were going to draw more money out of your bank than what you were putting in, eventually you are going to be in the negative. You are going to be stressed. Your bank is going to be coming after you. Your bills are not going to get paid because you are withdrawing more than you are depositing. If you are going to sip water from a cup or sip a glass of wine and never fill the wine glass again, you are eventually going to run out of wine. There's going to be nothing left. You have to be putting deposits in.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is why I encourage people to just get aware of how many things do you have in your day that is an energy filler. Because if you are sitting in the state of overwhelm, you might be feeling a lot of frustration, anxiety, depression, because this is not balanced. And the first step is really awareness. So when I talk about prioritization as the first P, where can you start to put an energy fillers? Where can you prioritize yourself and the things that bring you joy, that fill your cup? That gets to be happening every single day. And I'm not talking about taking 2 hours out on a Tuesday to go get a massage. I'm talking about maybe having 10 minutes of quiet time in the morning to journal, to reflect, to enjoy your cup of coffee, like whatever is going to fill you up. Maybe it's having a bubble bath for 10 minutes in the evening or reading a book. Like it doesn't have to be in extreme things.
Yeah.
It might not even, initially, you might not even get it right every day. But are you getting it right weekly? Are you just starting to improve or increase the amount of time and tasks you spend on yourself and the things that bring you joy? But Kev, I will say it was quite shocking, not shocking for me anymore, but when I started with this process with clients, it broke my heart because it was crazy to hear how many women and men I spoke to, and I said, well, what brings you joy? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know what to wake up. I honestly don't.
I hear that. I have experienced that exactly the same thing with lots of clients. Is like they can tell you what's wrong with their life, but they can't tell you what's right with their life.
Yeah.
So it's quite scary. Yeah.
It really is. And if you don't, you get so caught up in living for your spouse, in living for your kids, in trying to keep everybody else around you happy, that you actually lose who you are. You don't worry about who you are. You are whoever you feel you need to be for everybody else around you, including your business, your boss, your colleagues, whatever. And that is not a way to live. Of course, we are going to be stressed. Of course, we are going to be anxious. Of course, we are going to be depressed if we do not know who we are, if we do not know what we like and what we don't like, and we are not living in alignment with that. So prioritize yourself. First P, figure out what it is that brings you joy.
Yes.
Kev, I don't know if this would be helpful. I've got a little like PDF printout that has a couple exercises that people can do for each of these 3 Ps. Would it be helpful to send you a link and people can just download it? It's free. Like they can just work.
Absolutely. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll just create a link on the actual the description box below, and then you can click on it and just download it. Yeah, that'd be. What is the second one?
The second one is preparation. Okay.
Yes.
So what this looks like, if you think about it, your mind is nothing more than a muscle. Okay.
Yeah.
When you go to the gym, you don't just walk into the gym, go to the barbell, throw 200 pounds on there and start deadlifting.
No.
Like at 6 o'clock in the morning. You don't do that. You will injure yourself and you will be out of the game for months. You will spend a lot of time and be in a lot of pain to recover, to repair your body from the injury that it's caused, that you've caused. What we do is we go into the gym and we warm up our muscles first to prepare them for the heavy load that is going to come its way. And our mind is absolutely no different. Your biceps or your quads. And most of us are doing to our mind the same analogy. Like we are deadlifting 200 pounds the moment we wake up. We are not preparing our mind for the load it is about to take. We wake up, we are thinking about our to-do list. Oh my gosh, I've got all this stuff to do. Like I haven't even gotten out of bed. Maybe you haven't even done a stretch or a morning yawn and you're like, to-do list, these meetings, got to phone that person. Have I sorted the kids out with this? Got to get them ready. Are they sleeping? Like, there's so much noise.
Yeah.
Then it is decision after decision after decision we are making every single day. Conversation after conversation. This person, can you email this one? Can you phone that one? There's like this, it's a million things coming our way. But we are not preparing our mind to handle this.
So how do we prepare our minds? What does that process look like?
So that process will look a little bit different for everybody. That is up to you what that process is going to look like. But I encourage people to take, if you can just start out with 15 minutes, 10 minutes in the morning to prepare your mind. Maybe you can even carve out 45 minutes. It looks different for everyone. But there are a few ways, a few things you can do to prepare your mind. One is just breathing exercises, doing 2 minutes of breathing. My favorite method is 4-7-8 breathing. You guys can just Google that. But doing some breathing, doing some meditation, It might be yoga or just stretching, 10 minutes of stretching to wake up the body. If you go into YouTube, everything's on YouTube, and just YouTube morning routine that is 15 minutes, it's going to come up, or 5 minutes, it's going to come up. YouTube's incredible.
Yeah.
It might be journaling. It might be getting connected to your vision. One of my favorite things to do is when I wake up in the morning, before I get out of bed, I just do 30 seconds of breathing. And I visualize what I want my day to be. Not in terms of meetings, people I'm going to see, nothing like that. But what I want to feel like. Do I want to go through my day feeling happy, feeling light, feeling confident? Some days I wake up and I'm like, I just want to go for my day feeling powerful. Other times I wake up and I'm like, I just want to go through my day feeling calm. And I embrace that emotion. It's 30 seconds. It's 30 seconds. And I'm setting my intention, my mind. I'm preparing it for the day ahead.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, and as simple as it sounds, I think that, that 5 seconds of 5 minutes, 10 minutes of just another word that I like using is priming yourself, priming your brain, preparation, right?
Yes.
So getting your brain on board and setting yourself up for success for the day. Like, what does that do? What are you doing? What are you thinking?
Yes.
What does it look like? How are you going to show up for yourself today? Absolutely. I love that preparation. Yes.
And I think what's important for people to remember is the way you start your day is very, very, very important, because the energy that you start your day in is the energy you are going to carry through for the rest of your day.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you're waking up in the morning and you rushed, you're trying to get the kids out of bed, you're getting breakfast ready. Like me 5 years ago or 8 years ago, I was rushing out the house and then realizing I forgot my car keys and rushing back in, and I would snooze my alarm like 10 times and sleep till the last minute, and I was always late and stressed about traffic. And you get to work and it's like 5 to 8, and I feel like I've run a marathon. I'm exhausted because I've stressed myself out so much. And that rush energy, that pressure, go, just the rush, you are going to carry into your day. Yeah. You are going to attract more of that. But if you can start your day on a very calm, smooth, it's not to say that chaos is not going to come your way later in the day, but you are going to respond very differently when those things do come across.
Absolutely. And number 3?
And the last one is planning. To manage stress, a stressful and busy life, planning is required. This is why I would say, guys, I highly, highly encourage you to use the link that Kevin's going to give you and download that workbook that I have, because in here I've got 2 trackers that are super, super, super supportive for you to manage this. Number 1 is, I say, plan out your meals. Plan out your meals for the week. Because Kev, you mentioned in the beginning, as I said, nutrition. If you want to support your body to manage stress, you need to be making sure you are putting in the right food.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
There is something called decision fatigue. That is a very, very real thing. Okay.
Yes.
And we get to 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, such a busy day, driving home. It's like, well, I don't feel like cooking. I have no idea what to make. Okay, let me just stop at KFC quickly.
The reason I'm laughing is because sometimes when I get home, then Eugene will say, so what are we having? And I'm like, then I said to him, please, can I not make a decision? Please, just whatever. I don't care. Let's just have bread. Like, So we kind of... It's decision fatigue because you haven't planned ahead. I get that. Yeah.
But the human brain is only capable of making so many decisions a day. So you want to make sure you're saving those decisions for the important stuff. Yeah. If you look at some of the most successful people in the world, you will find they often only wear one color. Like they'll only wear black or they'll only wear blue. They'll eat the exact same thing for breakfast every morning. They actively try eliminate nonsense decisions, like small decisions from their life, so that they have more capacity for the big important things. This is a fact. Like, you can go check it out. Like, I think if you look at Steve Jobs, he only ever wore black. If you look at Bill Gates, I've actually worked with him, he eats the exact same thing for breakfast every single morning. Like, this is a very real thing. So you want to avoid decision fatigue. Make sure you are planning out your meals for the week and doing some meal prep. This is where I help clients as well. We do some batch cooking and meal prep. I love food. I love to eat. I also love convenience. I do not love being in the kitchen. For me, cooking is not something that's relaxing. It is one of those things that I have to do, but I would much rather be outside living life, not being in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But I understand the importance. I love food. I do respect nutrition. So I've structured things in such a way that I spend about 2 to 2.5 hours a week in the kitchen. I eat incredibly balanced, nutritious meals 2 to 3 times a day. It depends if I'm fasting. I feed the family, and 2 to 2.5 hours a week. That is with prepping, cooking, cleanup, everything. And this is possible for you if you plan out your week, your meals, you plan out your menu, you plan out your grocery, shopping, delivery, whatever it is, and you do some batch cooking and meal prep. I've got a bunch of resources for people on how to do this. You can, again, watch a YouTube video, but start to plan out your weeks a little bit better. Yeah. In the resource guide that I have for everybody, there is my perfectly planned day. And I encourage you guys to plan out your day. Don't just go into the day, into the week, like, I'm going to wing it. Let's see what happens. Hold my beer, watch this. Let's see what happens, okay?
Yeah.
That's not going to end well for you. You are going to be very, very stressed. I highly encourage people to plan out their day. And what I found made a massive difference on my mindset. As I said earlier, I lived my life by my to-do list. And every day I was looking at this to-do list and I was adding to it, and I was ending my day feeling like I've worked so hard, I'm exhausted, and I have more to do now than what I did when I started out. And this was not very good for my mind, because we completely underestimate or overestimate what we can do in a day, but we underestimate what we can do in a week when we do it properly.
Yeah.
So what I encourage people to do is plan out your days, plan out your weeks. What are the top priorities? And give yourself 1 or 2 tasks per day. This is my priority. This is my commitment for the day. I actually block out like focus time purely to do that. Yeah. And I smash up my priorities. I get it done before I look at my emails. I get it done before anything. But the point is, and again, this will look different for everyone, but instead of putting 5 or 6 different things on my to-do list that's completely unrealistic and ending off the day feeling behind, I do 2 or 3 things. This is my commitment. I make sure I get it done, and I'm left with extra time that I can then focus on other things. But my commitment is made. It gets me into a space of achievement energy, completion energy, and confidence. Yeah. And that is a much better way to end my day. Yes, I've still got a bunch of things to do, but the 3 things I said I was going to do is done, and I feel like I can take a breather. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, you know what, I've, just from being a coach and, working with people all the time, people, brains, if we know what we know about brains is brains like structure and strategy, right?
Yeah.
And if I know that I have a 3P approach to my stress and reducing that stress to even if just by 10%, if that means it's by 10% or 15, 20%, just by prioritizing preparation and planning for this week, then I've already got a strategy to do this. I've got a life strategy to like really get a grip on my own stress and my stress levels, and how this will impact my mood, and how that impacts my relationships, and how this impacts my business, and business making decisions around important stuff. So I absolutely love this. I think it's a fantastic tool. And guys, we're going to have the 3P approach link up on the description, in the description bar on YouTube, but it will be on all our social media channels. And Steph, thank you for joining us on telling us more about the 3P approach.
You're welcome, Kev. It was such a treat and such an honor to be back here with you guys again. I hope that your audience picked up on even if it's just one or two little things that I said. I really hope this was supportive and this landed for you guys and will support you in better managing your stress, because unfortunately it's just a horrible state that the world is in at the moment in terms of how we've normalized stress. And that really is such a core mission of mine to change the way we view it, so that we can just live our lives feeling a lot more fulfilled, and show up being the best people we can be for ourselves, for our family, for our business. And we can't do that when we are in a state of stress. Like, that's not, we weren't created to live, be stressed, be ill, and then die. Like, no.
Exactly. No, that's not living, right? Like, these are like very, very practical structures and strategies you can implement to really get a grip on life a little bit better than you did last week or last month. Or so absolutely prioritize, preparation, planning. The 3P approach link will be in there. The health gap link with Steph's details to get hold of it will be on there, guys, and that will go all into the description boxes below. If you want to join us, check it out every Wednesday and Thursday on eBiz Radio, and you can catch us on all major podcast channels as well under the Lunchtime series. Steph, thank you so much for joining us. And guys, she's the certified holistic nutritionist and functional medicine health coach to go to. So go and chat her. She'll tell you all the things you need to know. She knows all about it. Steph, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you, Kev. So appreciate your time, and thank you to all your listeners. Have an amazing week.
You too. Thanks so much. Chat soon. Cheers for now. Bye.
Bye.